tools and resources I need to help my child thrive. No matter where you are on the path, Understood can help you keep moving forward. Visit understood.org/yourpath today.
You're stepping into the fast lane on the VTRN Sports app, 93.3 FM and 1320 AM Lynchburg, or by asking Alexa or Google Home, open VTRN Sports Lynchburg. Now, take the fast lane through the topics that matter across the Commonwealth. This is the Fast Lane with Ed Lane.
Welcome back into the Fast Lane, a fully loaded car today as we continue to drive down through our 1 hour here on 93.3 FM Lynchburg, 1320 AM, VTRN Sports app, now powered by ESPN Radio. I'm TJ Wilkerson, your host. We got a lot going on in the sports world, whether you look at the NBA and the surplus of action going on there, while behind the scenes you got people being arrested for gambling and everything. MLB just had an issue themselves with the MLB PA, actually dealing with a profit organization that is being investigated with the organization itself. Actually came out today, and interested to see how that goes down. Lots of college football still left to be played, including our very own in this district. You got Liberty taking on Delaware this weekend. We have VT playing Louisville in Blacksburg this weekend. And meanwhile, you got UVA still on the road, and they just came back from a heart attack game against Carolina. And that was a crazy game in itself. We've talked about it several times here on the Fast Lane with Ed and myself, which, by the way, no Ed Lane today. He's out trick-or-treating with his kids early because tomorrow's the day where we'll be hosting high school football on the air, and he wanted time with his family and gave me the chance to be able to do this show. So want to thank Ed for every opportunity he's thrown my way and just allowing me to come on and continue to live out my dream here, working at the studio, working at the station, and being able to travel and report at games. It's honestly a dream come true, a job that I love, and I'm excited because we got a great show ahead of us. And one of those special guests, we've actually talked to him at Media Days back in July. Ed had the pleasure of interviewing. I grew up with the guy, and quite frankly, I'm starstruck, but I'm excited. We're going to bring him on right now. Ladies and gentlemen, General Manager Ron Rivera, former head coach from the NFL with the Panthers and Commanders, and now he's running operations at Cal. First off, Coach, as we introduce you in, how are you doing, man, health-wise and everything? I know you've had some health scares in the past. How's life treating you as well as your health?
I appreciate you asking, TJ. Doing very well. I was diagnosed with cancer almost 5 years ago to this day. I was in Virginia at the time with the Commanders, and I took my treatments, and I went through the whole process. So I'm doing very well, thank you, and things are actually very, very good.
Absolutely, that's good to hear, Coach. I tell you what, though, is it in remission? I should say, if you don't mind me asking, like, is it in a remission phase right now where everything's clear, or?
Yes, everything's been clear. Like I said, this is my 5th year of it, and so everything has been outstanding. Been very, very fortunate. We caught it early. Early detection always looms very, very good for you. And with the treatment, the professionalism of the medical system here and there in Virginia was outstanding. So I'm very, very pleased and very fortunate.
Absolutely. And we're fortunate to have you on this show today. Thank you for giving us some time here in the Fast Lane once again. An honor and a pleasure to meet you, Coach. Coach, is it fair to say that Cal right now has grown expectations? It feels like since they've joined the ACC, it's easy to throw them down into the bottom of the barrel, and especially when you got guys like Jaden Ott and Fernando Mendoza that move on to other programs. But You guys look like you've got a great system. I know the last couple of games have been tough, but some staple wins like Carolina and Minnesota, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Is it fair to say that Cal has surpassed expectations in this season so far?
Well, yes and no. To be
Mhm.
honest with you, TJ, we had a couple opportunities to win a couple of games. What I really feel we should have, and one of the
Yes,
games we
sir.
should have was Virginia Tech. But credit to them, they fought to the very end and ended up with the W, and we didn't. But I do think we have exceeded those expectations. My disappointment, obviously, is anytime we lose a game. First of all, I always believe we can win.
Yes, sir.
I believe we could have won all three that we've lost, but unfortunately, again, credit to our opponent, but we didn't do the things that we needed to give ourselves that chance. So yeah, we have exceeded some expectations. Some of us have a little bit higher expectations.
Yeah.
And you brought up a couple things that had happened in the offseason. We lose Mendoza, we lose Hot, two guys that were staples of our football team. But I think we were able to put ourselves in a pretty good position. I like our crew of running backs right now, and most certainly Raphael Kendrick, who played at Kendrick Raphael, excuse me, played at NC State, and also losing Mendoza, we end up coming with Jaron, our quarterback, JKS Sagapatelli, who's really turned out to be a heck of a young freshman quarterback for us, and gives us a lot of hope. Somebody that we're most certainly looking to build around and put ourselves in an even better position going forward.
Coach, our fan base for Liberty here in Lynchburg, Virginia, they like to keep up with their former players. How has TJ Bush, in addition
Oh,
to your team, been for y'all this year and in your eyes?
I tell you what, he's been fabulous. He really has. Fantastic football player, heck of a young man. The hard part for TJ is we lost his running mate Ryan McCullough, our other starting
Hmm.
outside linebacker slash edge, and because of that, teams are now doubling up on TJ. I mean, it's been tough. It's been hard sledding. The guy's a warrior. He really is. He works, plays hard, does everything the right way. So to let everybody know at Liberty, we really appreciate who he is. And I know a bunch of you wish he'd stayed. But he's shown to us
Hmm.
why he's such a valuable piece. It's just unfortunate, the guy on the opposite side gets hurt. We're playing a young guy there, and he doesn't get the amount of attention that TJ's been getting.
I tell you what, he's a great addition up there. Being able to see him play with y'all up there a couple of times on TV, he looks like he's happy. He looks like he's comfortable and within a great system as well. Ron, I'm curious, as far as general manager goes, what is the general manager role like in the college football world compared to the pros?
Well, I think TJ, first of all, it depends on where you're at. Now, I know at some schools the general manager is more of the cap guy. He's more the guy that works with the NIL and revenue share program. And then you have some guys that are pure personnel guys. I think I'm a little unique. I have a little bit of a head coaching perspective.
Yeah.
So I work with our coaches. I help mentor those guys. I do get involved and work with the players as well. I do help a little bit with the coaching and some game planning. Not a lot right now.
Yes, sir.
Big part of it is because the majority of my time has been spent on resource development, on looking for the funding to help us go forward. It's one of the things that we haven't been very good at in the past. And so there's a lot of walls I've got to knock down, a lot of people I've got to reach out to. And so if I had to give you a gauge, I could honestly tell you, I probably spend 50% of my time doing that,
Hmm.
and probably only 50%, 10 of it's probably with coaching, a portion of it's with the players, another portion of it's with personnel, another portion I'm working on the academic side. It's really all encompassing right now because there's so many hats to wear.
Hmm.
But for me, I've enjoyed it. I'm really getting an opportunity to engage. But I think if there's one thing I hope to be able to do next year is be a little bit more involved directly with the football team as opposed to as much of the resource development that I've had to do.
Do you feel like with your involvement now into the program, is it maybe easier to get funding because of your brand and your reputation, not just with the school, but who you are in the football world? Or do you feel like it's been just as harder, even with your brand?
No, it's funny, DJ. I think it's been hard, but everybody keeps telling me, God, you've made this a lot easier. And I think to myself, God, if this is easy, then wow, I can only imagine what it's like when it really happens. But it has, and I've been able to reach out and and talk with a lot of folks. I understand not everybody wants to give money towards what they consider pay to play, as far
Yeah.
as revenue share and NIL concerned. So I always talk about the other aspects of sports, and that is sports medicine, the academic side for the student athletes. There is the facilities, all the upgrades that need to go along with that. Coaching is another area that you can get involved with. And if you don't like any of those things, there's other sports, and then there's always Central Campus. So I'm not only doing this just for football, but I'm doing it for athletics, and I'm doing it for academics as well.
So it's kind of like an athletic director position, almost like,
Yep.
ADs in high school that basically do everything, it feels like. So is that how you would describe your job?
Not necessarily. Yes and no to that question as well.
Word.
Yes, I do feel like there are some things that that are probably right out of the athletic director handbook. But then there are other things that's really, it's about football, because I'm over the sport. That's the only sport that I have direct influence with. The other ones I support our two co-athletic directors. What this chancellor's done is he's kind of had a three-pronged approach.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
over the top of football with the support of our two co-athletic directors, because they handle most of the administrative side. And then those two athletic directors handle the other 29 sports, and I support them
Mhm.
from a coaching technical aspect, where I can work with them and help them and talk to them about their coaches.
Ron Rivera, general manager of California, a legend in the coaching world of the NFL, especially to all of our local Commander fans out there. I know my mom talks about you all the time. Huge Commanders fan. She loved you at your head coaching gig. So I told her I would shout her out to you today. And so, Mom, if you're listening, I just told Coach Rivera how much he loved and missed him. So,
Well, I appreciate that, TJ.
with that said, Ron, I know we're going to get into the preview with UVA. I am curious. Do you feel like every college should have a general manager? I know Stanford, y'all's rivals, has Andrew Luck.
Yep.
They've got that going on over there. VT's looking to find a general manager before a head coach, though it feels like with the buzz going on that
Yeah.
it may be vice versa. But do you feel like colleges need a general manager? Every college?
This is what I'll say. You
Mhm.
need somebody that is devoted specifically for football, whether you want to call that a general manager or you want to call that an athletic director, associate athletic director, or whatever. But somebody has to be or should be over football. With the way things are and the significance and importance
Yes, sir.
of being associated with the right conference, playing at the right level, there's a lot that has to be done. And I'm just learning it. I was fortunate enough to work with some very good ones. I work with Marty Herney and with Carolina. I work with Dave Gettleman at Carolina as well. These guys were tremendous at what they did, but it's far different from the NFL model. And because the one thing that you have is you have free agency constantly, and anybody can be a free agent. And
Yes,
that's
sir.
the hard part. You have to work on player retention. That's the hard part. Then comes from left field the academic side. Now you've got to deal with these guys, those guys, these people as far as academics are concerned. Then you
Yes,
have
sir.
housing,
Oh, boy.
where we had to have an appeal for some guys for housing and stuff.
Mm.
So there's all these little academic aspects that come into the real world of college athletics that you have to deal with, that I've had to deal with so far. So there really is a lot that is out there, TJ. I don't think people quite understand that.
Ron, when you were on the show with Ed, you talked about how it would be best to have one transfer portal window. Well, your wish was
Yes.
granted. There's only one portal window now between January 2nd and 16. Are you happy with that, or do you feel
Yes.
like January is a bad time?
Well, there's no really good time, because some schools are on a quarter system, some schools are on the semester system. Some people say, "Oh, this benefits the quarter system because those
Yes,
guys
sir.
that go into the porter that are going into quarter systems, they don't have to worry about the immediate winter one. They can wait till the spring one." And for us, we need those folks to get in right away, because our classes will start January 20th.
Yes, sir.
And so you have to get those folks into class. So,
Hmm.
we just got to be very efficient when we go through the portal. We've got to make sure that we can get, transcripts read and interpreted and credits allowed or disallowed early so we know how to put everything else into place.
Ron, I know you said 10% of your job is actually being with the football team and helping coaching and everything. Y'all guys have a big game coming up against UVA.
Yep.
This UVA team, you don't know what you're going to get from them, but they know how to escape danger, it feels like, and they've got a great team under Tony Elliott. What is your approach, you feel like? What should be Cal's approach to UVA, especially when you have home field advantage here?
Well, I think the biggest thing, first of all, I think Tony's done a tremendous job from everything I've seen, everything I've looked at as far as they're concerned. It looks like they are a team, like you said, they've escaped because they know and they play with confidence. They know they can do certain things and they play confidently. That's a big part of it. Attitude is truly something that's big because they were in few games that they could have lost. It could have gone the other way, but because they kept fighting, they kept playing hard for coach, they got the opportunity to win a football game. And that's what's important. You've got to believe that. For us, we got a group of young guys that, we've been able to pull out a couple of close ones. And then last week, for the first time, we lost one we really I feel we could have won. We really could have. But again, I won't take anything from Virginia Tech. I thought the things they did were outstanding. Did we play our best? At certain times we did, and certain times we didn't. But again, that's about attitude. That's about way you look at things, how you can handle it. So I think if we approach this as a very workmanlike type game, this is about, being a physical football team and competing that way. I think we increase our chances to win.
Ron Rivera has been generous to give us his time. Ron, before I let you go, I wanted to get your perspective on this. You've been a guy that's transitioned into new coaching roles, and there's a lot of coaching gigs out there. If you are in the shoes of somebody looking to get in the Power Four with all these openings, what advice would you give to those people that maybe are seeking those Power Four roles, or maybe you're James Franklin and recently fired Brian Kelly looking to get back out there? What would your advice be to them when they look for their next gig? And what do you feel like is the best gig out there for anybody looking for a new coaching role?
Well, first thing I would say more so than anything else is, the one thing you always have to present when you sit down is what are you going to do? What are you going to bring to the table? More so than anything else.
Yes, sir.
I know when I first interviewed in the NFL, I always talked about where I was and who I worked for. And I finally got debriefed a couple of times, and the folks told me, Ron, you got talking so much about what you did when you worked for Andy Reid and what you did when we worked for Lovie Smith, and you need to talk about what you do, or what you plan to do. How do you plan to do it? What's your plan? Talk about you. Take some credit. Be your own advocate. That's one of the biggest things I learned right off the bat was talk about what you're going to do and how you're going to build the football team. That's probably the biggest piece of advice I tell people is talk about what you're capable of, what you bring, what is your strengths. I think that's one of the most important things. But I also think you also have to present somebody that's humble, that's also willing to say, look, I don't know everything. That's why I want to hire the best I can, because I need good, smart people around me as well.
Well, Ron, I think that's the best advice you can give somebody. I have to say, first off, let me just say it's a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you for your time. Just want to go ahead and thank you for that. I am curious, though, was Mike, when you played with Mike Singletary, did he always have his eyes wide open out there at the linebacker field? This is a question I have to ask you if I never get the chance to talk to you again.
I'll tell you what, Mike was one of my favorite guys, one of the favorite people on the team, because Mike was such a ferocious competitor, but such a humble man. He gave us a lot of credit for the success he had, which I thought was very generous of him. But
Yes,
Mike
sir.
really was a self-made player. He's a guy that worked very hard at what he did. In my opinion, I always tell Mike, Mike was not the best athlete of all of us, but he was the best football player of all of us. And that's what made him special, because he worked to be a good football player. His eyes were wide open because Mike didn't necessarily see well. That's why he always wears glasses.
Wow.
So I think he always had his eyes open wide because he was focusing so much to read his keys to get where he needed to be. And the other thing I loved about him was how explosive he was. Once Mike diagnosed it, he was going downhill right away. He was a little shorter than everybody else, but he used his leverage to his advantage and was really that kind of player. And it was special to be able to be associated with who he is. as a football player, but more importantly as who he was as a teammate, because he was an exceptional guy.
And I know Chicago fans wish they had you guys again in that 84 team, but it looks like they're back on the rise again, man. So hopefully we'll see those Chicago Bears back to their former glory. Ron, thank you for joining us, man. This was a pleasure and a treat. And good luck this weekend against UVA, and have a great, fantastic, warm rest of your day, because it's cold here in Virginia, man. And I'm jealous of the warm climate you're in right now.
Oh, it really is, TJ. I hate to rub it in, but it is I mean, I'm in short sleeve and everything, so it's beautiful outside. It is. And so I know when UVA gets here, they'll appreciate the weather as well. So I appreciate it, TJ. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. Want to thank Ron Rivera for joining us and giving us his time. We'll be right back into the fast lane. When we come into the fast lane, Colton Pool, we're going to have him on to talk group of 5. Look, the American is 5 teams right now that you can honestly say fighting for that group of 5 spot. But our local Commonwealth teams, I know, are looking at JMU. They're looking at Liberty's chances to just make the CUSA championship at this point. All that and more with Colton Pool on our next segment. Don't go anywhere. This is the Fast Lane. You're listening to 93.3 FM, 1320 AM, Lynchburg. VTRN Sports, powered by ESPN Radio.
Mark Dalton here with the Terry Auto Group. If you don't love your car, then you're simply just driving the wrong one. At Terry Volkswagen, Terry Subaru, Terry Auto Outlet, and the Terry Clearance Center, we've got the perfect new or used car for you. We make your car buying experience easy. Need help with imperfect credit? No problem. Our team works hard to get you approved and back on the road. Because when you shop at Terry, you drive away happy. Visit us at any of our 4 locations or online at terryautogroup.com. Terry Auto Group. You'll love our cars.
Going once, going twice, gone. This is the last year you can have Terrell E. Mosley install a new qualifying heat pump and get a $2,000 federal tax credit. If your current system is over 10 years old, you should seriously consider updating your system and take advantage of this tax credit. Not to mention, a new, more energy-efficient system will also save you on your electric bill. Call Terrell E. Mosley. It's a free service for them to come and discuss the options available to you. Don't miss out. Call Terrell E. Mosley or visit them at terrellemosley.com.
I am so sorry I was late. I was at the retina specialist getting my first AMD treatment. I was worried that the injection would hurt, but it was much better than I expected.
I'm so glad you're getting your AMD treated. Did you go to the same retina specialist that I see for my diabetic retinopathy?
Yes, and I was already having blurred central vision. And the retina specialist told me that by treating it early, I had a better chance of saving and even improving my vision.
It's important that we see an expert for our retinal conditions. A retina specialist also treated my son when his retina detached several years ago. The surgery saved his sight. When your vision is at risk from retinal disease, you need the expertise of a retina specialist. Retina specialists are highly trained physicians and surgeons who treat retinal conditions in adults and children, as well as severe eye trauma. If you experience blurred central vision, a curtain-like shadow in your vision, floaters, flashing lights, or wavy lines, see a retina specialist as soon as possible.
Hi, I'm Priscilla Presley. My love for animals began when I was 5 years old and found a puppy wandering alone. Growing up in a military family, pets weren't allowed, but I couldn't turn him away, and my family let me adopt him. That moment sparked a lifelong commitment to speak up for animals who can't speak for themselves. 50 plus years ago, Elvis and I supported American Humane Society because animals deserve our voice. And now, more than ever, they still do. American Humane Society saves lives and strengthens the bond between humans and animals. Each year, millions of animals end up in shelters, waiting for someone to give them a second chance. Your compassion can change a life. Please visit AmericanHumane.org to learn more. Thank you.
VTRN Sports, powered by ESPN Radio. The games play here. College football action this Saturday kicks off at 11:30 a.m. as Miami takes on SMU. Then at 1 p.m., we stay in the Atlantic Coast Conference as Louisville heads to Blacksburg to take on the Hokies. Then the nightcap is in the Big Ten as USC takes on Nebraska. Catch the big games on VTRN Sports, powered by ESPN Radio, 93.3 FM, 1320 AM, the VTRN Sports app, and ask your smart speaker, open VTRN Sports.
VTRN Sports is better than ever. We've re-affiliated with ESPN Radio, bringing you the legendary national perspective you trust and the local voices you love. Wake up with the morning warm-up with Trey Lyle, weekdays at 7. Drive home with Ed Lane on the Fast Lane at 5. And don't miss Foster and Friends with legendary Hokies DC Bud Foster Saturdays at 9 a.m. We've got your teams: high school, Hokies, Hoos, Flames, Dukes, the Commanders, and NASCAR, all covered. VTRN Sports, powered by ESPN Radio.
Check out every game of March Madness on VTRN Sports, 93.3 FM, 1320 AM, open VTRN Sports on your smart speaker, and stream on the VTRN Sports app.
Step into the Fast Lane 24/7 at Trey Lyle VT and Fast Lane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Now, back to the Fast Lane.
Welcome back to the Fast Lane here on VTRN's 93.3 FM, 1320 AM, Lynchburg. We're happy to be back here. And, you know, I wasn't lying when I was talking to Ron Rivera. It's been really brisk here. You're starting to feel that crisp fall, wintry weather that you can identify late in the football season. And it's been really, really chilly. But in all honesty, got to get used to it. I know if my fiance were here right now, she would tell me, TJ, get over it. This is nothing compared to what I went through in Alaska and what she's probably currently going through in Michigan. Not sure what the weather is up there right now, but you know what I can tell you about what's going on is the CUSA Women's Soccer Championship, hosted by Liberty University at Osborne Stadium this Sunday from November 2nd all the way to Friday, November 7th. That's right. Tickets at libertyflames.com. Conference USA Women's Soccer Championship Tournament. Kids ages 3 through 17 get in for $5 for all sessions. Adults 10 to each session, of $15 for the championship. I'll have Corey Spector on the Fast Lane tomorrow to talk about this and more as we get closer and closer. I mean, shoot, it's coming up Sunday. So get your tickets now. At libertyflames.com, CUSAW soccer, or you can call 434-582-SEAT 7328. Again, that's 434-582-7328, aka SEAT for seats. All right. Before we went to break, I mentioned JMU's path. We know they just came off a good win over Texas State. They've been putting up the points, and they've stopped the 2-quarterback system that ages ago, actually. It feels like since the Liberty game, I haven't really seen Sluka get out there. It's been the Alonzo Barnett show. And this JMU team, 4th overall defense in the country. And things can keep up. You can honestly make that argument. I mean, a loss to Louisville, sure, it was a close one, but when you compare it to South Florida and Memphis's resume. I mean, Memphis took out Arkansas. I mean, but that's Arkansas team's not going through the best. They had to fire Sam Pittman in the middle of it all. You could say South Florida, who, yes, beat Florida, who is now Billy Napier-less. But if Florida stays over 500, I think that just is a testament to South Florida. And then it becomes a testament to Memphis because Memphis beat South Florida a couple of weeks back, as a matter of fact. But, you know, I think the best person to help break this down is a guy that I love bringing in whenever I can, whenever I host the Fast Lane to talk about conference mid-major football. Colton Pool joining us here today. Colton, how are you doing today, man?
Good. How are you doing?
Hey, man. Like I said, it's brisk, but I'm getting warmer in the studio. It's actually hotter in here than it probably should be. Well, you know, oh well. Hey, Colton, wow, we're already halfway through the college football season, man.
Yeah.
I feel like when you and I last spoke, JMU, I think JMU was still using the 2 QB system when we last spoke. So we look at this JMU team, start out there. It feels like they've got a great resume right now. You look at the rest of their schedule. I'm looking at Marshall this weekend, App State, and Washington State, who almost beat Ole Miss, came close to beating UVA at Charlottesville. That if they get a win over Washington State, how much does that pump up that resume?
Oh, absolutely. It pumps it up a ton. And the unfortunate thing with James Madison, you outlined it a little bit already, but how with everything going on in the American and the strength of schedule, and the strength of schedules that those top teams have over in the American, if JMU is going to make it to the college football playoff as a Group of 5 team, they probably have to win out. And so whether it's Washington State or what have you, I think an 11-1 Sun Belt champion has a very strong case to get in. But if you're 10-2 and that top American team is 10-2 with a win over, ex Power 4 team, like Memphis has, USF has a Power 4 win.
Yeah.
So that's going to be really tough. So I really, as much as I love how well James Madison is playing right now, and they're really, all full gas, against Old Dominion, against Texas State. They're not just winning; they're winning by large margins because they've figured out the offense and how to put up points along with that top-notch defense. So I love how they're playing, but I don't really think there's much room for error at this point because of the other teams at the other, in the G5.
So you're saying they have to win out. And if you look at the Sun Belt Championship, if you look at the Sun Belt standings, they could play Southern Miss or Troy, who both teams actually are facing each other last game of the season on rivalry week. You look at Arkansas State, they're playing those two teams back to back. Let's say JMU goes all the way, gets the Sun Belt, beats one of those two teams. But does it matter? Because if you look at the American team, like here's a team I've actually forgotten about. Forgive me, by the way, Tulane, for forgetting about you. You're a great team in itself. I just remembered they have 2 Power 5 wins with Northwestern and Duke under their belt. Where does that get them in the mix?
Yeah, and I think really the best hope for JMU at this point is teams like Tulane, Memphis, USF kind of beat up on each other. Tulane, they've got a game at UTSA tonight. That's not necessarily a gimme. And then they play at Memphis next week. And I think really either one, whoever loses that game probably gets knocked out of the American Conference Championship picture. Because then you've got other teams out there too, like South Florida, like Navy. I mean, 1 or 2 losses and you're out of the picture. So, and Memphis has already lost to UAB, which was a very favorable result if you're JMU. You're really hoping that these top-notch American teams lose to each other a little bit. Not that there isn't a clear number one that has only 1 loss and has a power win, like I said. I think you kind of hope that these teams beat each other a little bit and weaken their overall resumes. And again, even if that does happen, it's not a guarantee that JMU gets in. I guess unless they win out.
I'm looking at Memphis's schedule, and they've got Tulane and Navy on the schedule here. They got Rice for Halloween, and then you've got Tulane next at East Carolina, and then Navy. I mean, if Memphis, if Memphis manages to wrap up Tulane and Navy under their finger as a win, should we just let Memphis at that point get the Group of 5 bid? And at that point, there's maybe nothing JMU can do at that point?
Yeah, I mean, I would say if Memphis wins out and JMU wins out from this point on, I would probably lean toward, even with that UAB loss with Memphis, I think Memphis probably gets in over JMU. Now, technically, it's not impossible because it's the CFP is made up of the top 5 conference championship winners. So it's not impossible that one of those ACC or Big 12 teams drops off, but that's probably a little unrealistic. So really, you're really rooting probably against Memphis at this point. You're hoping that they lose another one of those games, even if it's not Tulane or Navy. They very well could lose at East Carolina. That's a good ECU team that you're looking at on the road for Memphis. So that's not a gimme game either. But yeah, if Memphis wins out and wins the American Conference Championship, I think we would see the Tigers in the CFP over the Dukes.
Colton Pool here from Hero Sports, Group of Five reporter here to talk about the Group of Five situation. Let's cut over to the American. North Texas has been a surprise this year. The Mean Green Machine. I know that bad loss to South Florida doesn't look great, but I've honestly been shocked to see North Texas, who had Chandler Morris a year ago, and they're still managing to come out on the rise and play as well as they have. What are your thoughts on North Texas?
North Texas is really interesting. You mentioned that USF loss, and it was lopsided, but I mean, their offense is humming right now. But they're looking at the rest of their schedule. You know, they do have Navy, and that is this weekend, and that's not going to be an easy game. But if UNT pulls that one off, you've got UAB, Rice, Temple left on the schedule. They don't have any more of those, Memphis, Tulane. They don't have any of those top tier conference teams left. So if they can pull off the win over Navy, and, Navy is undefeated, but they also have looked vulnerable at times and have needed to pull off last second wins. So I don't think that's impossible that North Texas gets a win there. And from that point, I mean, I think there's a real clear path for North Texas to get to the American Conference Championship. But then from that point, that's a really interesting resume comparison if you're comparing the Mean Green to JMU, for example, because now it's 2 1-loss teams, but North Texas lost to a then ranked South Florida team. That's going to be really interesting. So, but I don't think North Texas, they're probably not my favorite to win the American right now.
Right.
But with that offense, I don't think anything's impossible for them.
Who is your favorite?
Memphis was my preseason pick. I think I'm still leaning Memphis right now because, North Texas, that defense, I don't know if I trust them, down the stretch and in a conference championship game. South Florida, I mean, after that loss to Memphis, who knows if they'll even get into the conference championship game at this point. So I think Memphis, kind of, despite that UAB loss, really has the complete roster with talents on both sides of the ball to get the job done. So I'll lean Memphis right now.
Well, I'm going to circle back to JMU before we touch on CUSA and Mountain West, because I wanted to ask you this question. I wrote it down, and we got into talking to the American, and I just decided to do a round trip around it. So I'll round trip back to it because I'm curious on your thoughts on this. Colton Pool, by the way, you can follow him on @CPoolReporter on Twitter. Colton, if Bob Chesney were to leave JMU, right? Let's say we're at the end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Bob Chesney gets poached. Don't matter where. Maybe it's VT. That seems to be a popular destination, unless James Franklin with the buzz that comes in takes over. And we'll talk about that with David Teel next segment. But I look at JMU. We saw Kurt Signetti come in here and turn this program around, and now he's doing great, wondrous things at Indiana. If Bob Chesney leaves, gets to wherever of the open spots, and does well himself, can we consider JMU maybe a farming system for coaches to go through if they want to get to the Power 4 level? Hey, come to JMU and build a winning culture there like the last previous coaches, and who knows, maybe you'll get picked to be the next Power 4 head coach.
I mean, that's tough, because a lot of these top-notch G5 programs are going to be like that when you're successful. You'd probably rather have this, losing your head coaches to those bigger Power 4 jobs over having a not good coach who has a losing record and has no interest, has no buzz in the Power 4 coaching carousel. So that said, that's kind of the life that you live right now as an elite G5 program. Your head coach is, there's going to be buzz about whether that coach would be a good fit for XYZ job. I mean, you look at Tulane, there's interest with LSU and John Summerall right now. There's buzz about that. Alex Golish at USF has been kind of regarded as in the mix for some power jobs. Ryan Silverfield with Memphis. I mean, all of these top-notch G5 programs, whether you like it or not, when your team is winning, your coach is also probably going to receive some interest from those schools that have openings. So, unfortunately, as long as JMU keeps winning, that's kind of the way it's going to be.
Absolutely. And it feels like you want to talk about coaches that didn't coach in Power Fours before going through this system. I think of Kalen DeBoer when he came from Fresno State, went to Washington. Now he's the coach of Bama. I mean, it's like you said, it's an easy poaching ground for a group of 5 for head coaches, whether you started in the Power Four, go there to build your head coaching resume and whatnot. And it just feels like that's the way to go nowadays.
Yeah, and I don't blame those Power Four schools when they have openings. I would personally rather have a head coach that has a strong head coaching resume rather than a coordinator from another power school. I would rather have seen that coach prove themselves as the leader of a program, no matter what level that is, have some experience being the guy in charge rather than, a coordinator, bringing in a great play caller or, defensive, offensive, what have you.
Yeah.
I think I would rather see a head coach, do it and have success as the top guy of a program rather than, like a coordinator.
Colton Pool joining us here on the show. Colton, we'll go over to Conference USA real quick here. Liberty Flames, as we are based in Lynchburg, they've got a long way to go. There's still a chance to make the conference title, but it's not going to be easy, especially because in there they play Delaware, who's a really good team, and they're right behind them in the standings. Missouri State, not far back after that. And then here's a game that I think would be interesting. And you look at this Kennesaw State team, who has also made buzz. They started out nearly winless in their first year, and now they've come out. They nearly beat Wake Forest. They're undefeated in the conference, bowl eligible for the first time in program history. Is there a pathway for Liberty to make the CUSA championship? Is it possible? Or for Liberty fans, what would you tell them?
Yeah, I would say it's not impossible, but Liberty would absolutely have to turn this thing around. Even they've won their last 2 games, sure, but it was at UTEP, which is not having a great season right now, and New Mexico State at home, and that was a close game, and they have a losing record right now.
Yes, sir.
So sure, there's reason. This program could have some momentum right now, but these last 5 games of the regular season are not going to be easy, like you mentioned. You have Delaware, Missouri State, which are first-year FBS programs that are proving themselves like they're worthy of being in the Conference USA right now, considering how they're playing. And then FIU, and then at Louisiana Tech, which they've struggled in the last couple weeks, but that's a program to be reckoned with. And then you close the season out with Kennesaw State, which is playing at a very high level right now with Jerry Mack in his first year as the head coach of the Owls. So there is a path there, but I don't think that's going to be possible unless you win out, because you got Kennesaw State at 4-0, Jacksonville State at 4-0, which Liberty already lost to earlier this season. Western Kentucky, it's very possible they don't lose another game the rest of the season. So it's possible, but the Flames really have to get it together at this point.
That's Colton Pool joining us here, ladies and gentlemen. I wish we could get more into the Mountain West, but we'll have to table that another time. But Colton, thank you for joining us today on the show, man. I'm excited to see where this goes down. And real quickly before you go, in the Mountain West, Boise State, what do you give them a shot at all?
Yes, I do give them a shot, but a lot, kind of the same case with James Madison. A lot has to happen outside of what Boise State does from this point. I think they have to win out, and a lot more has to happen for Boise State to be in the CFP discussion.
Absolutely. Well, Colton, thank you for joining us, man. We hope you have a great one, and we're going to get you back on the fast lane before the season ends. Mark my words.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. And have me on anytime.
Absolutely. Thank you, Colton, for joining us here. When we come back, we're going to cut the break. When we come back, we're going to get the buzz around Blacksburg, including, there was a rumor. It's confirmed by Andy Bitter that a head coaching candidate who is great at recruiting in Virginia, has been having discussions with VT. VT has talked about getting a general manager first, but we may be on to getting our first, get vice versa, the head coach coming before the general manager. David Teel will break it down and shut down any rumors or any gossip we may have here in the Fast Lane when we come back. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to Virginia Talk Radio Network Sports by asking your smart speaker, open the VTRN Sports app, or on 93.3 FM, 1320 AM.
It's so worth the drive to big savings at the Used Car Superstore on the Sheeler Motor Mile. Shop local and save more with exceptional service and selection. Your search stops here with over 900 pre-owned vehicles to choose from, plus a huge selection of new car brands in Southwest Virginia. Honda, Hyundai, Toyota, Subaru, Kia, Chevrolet, Mitsubishi, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. 11 new car brands, 900 used vehicles, all in one location. The Sheeler Motor Mile gives you more choices with pre-owned cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs. Many have miles in the teens, remaining factory warranties, and some are even local one-owner vehicles. More than any other dealer in the area, plus exceptional service, selection, savings, and financing options, and top dollar for your trade. Volume selling means volume pricing, and we've got the volume with 11 new car brands and over 900 used vehicles, all in one location. And we're proud to support our local schools and community. The Used Car Superstore on the Sheeler Motor Mile, your premier car dealer, locally and family-owned for over 50 years. I-81 exit 118C in Christiansburg. Call 866-SHEELER1. Always open at Sheeler.com.
The Conference USA Women's Soccer Championship is coming to Lynchburg, hosted by Liberty University at Osborne Stadium, Sunday, November 2nd through Friday, November 7th. See the best in Division I college soccer. 8 teams battle for the CUSA title and a berth in the NCAA Women's College Cup. Adult tickets just $10 for each session before the championship game. $15 for the championship. Ages 3 to 17, just $5 for all sessions. CUSA students free with ID. Tickets at libertyflames.com/CUSAW-soccer.
Want an outdoor oasis? The Concrete Wizard can restore and revitalize your pool deck or patio. After the Concrete Wizard works the magic, your old, tired concrete will look new again. For pool decks, the Concrete Wizard can install a safe, innovative rubber surfacing option that's slip-resistant, soft, and easy on the feet. A great choice for families and anyone concerned about safety. Visit theconcretewizard.com for some ideas, then contact them today for a free consultation to create your perfect outdoor oasis.
Hey, small to medium business owners, if you're frustrated with slow IT support, high costs, or paying for services you just don't use, it's time for a change. Hi, I'm Colt with We Fix Stupid Computers. We provide reliable on-site and remote support tailored for businesses just like yours. And we go beyond just fixing problems. We empower your staff with real tech knowledge so they can work smarter every day. From repairs to training to full IT support, we save you time, stress, and money. Call We Fix Stupid Computers, 434-525-8590, where smart support meets real savings.
Get ready for the Star City Half Marathon, 10K, and Kids 1 Mile Run, happening Saturday, November 22nd. Participate in one of the region's longest standing running traditions, showcasing the Greenway and an after party featuring Roanoke's favorite foods, beverages, and music. Every participant gets a race shirt and a finisher medal. Don't wait to sign up. Register today at commonwealthgames.org/Star City. It's the Star City Half Marathon, 10K, and Kids 1 Mile Run, brought to you by Virginia Amateur Sports.
VTRN Sports, powered by ESPN Radio. The games play here with NFL action this week, kicking off on Thursday at 8 o'clock after Tech Talk Live. It's Ravens at Dolphins. Then Sunday, a triple-header with coverage starting at 12:30 with Panthers at Packers, Chiefs at Bills, then Seahawks at Commanders on Sunday Night Football. Then, after Tech basketball on Monday night, it's Cardinals at Cowboys. Listen to all the big games on VTRN Sports, powered by ESPN Radio, 93.3 FM, 1320 AM, and on the VTRN Sports app, and ask your smart speaker, open VTRN Sports.
Step into the Fast Lane 24/7 at Trey Lyle VT and Fast Lane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Now, back to the Fast Lane.
It's insane to do the Fast Lane without Ed Lane, but it's not insane for Ed to spend time with his family, which he's doing right now, because tomorrow we'll have Jefferson Forest and Brookville on our radio airwaves. I'll be calling that for another station. Ed will call it here on WIQO, here, Lynchburg's talk station. for Jefferson Forest Cavs action. What else is insane is the kind of deals that you can get at InsaneRadioDeals.com. Now, currently, you can get 31% off listed prices for food and any treats like the Star City Half Marathon, Liberty football tickets, a Sea of Red, membership clubs. And then for food-wise, I went to Oliver's on Rivermont a couple weeks ago with my fiance. One of the greatest choices I felt like I've made as far as dinner reservations go. So definitely should check that out, and you can get 31% off of the listed price for a gift card there, actually, if you go on InsaneRadioDeals.com, because you're not going to get any great insane deals like you do from our website. What else is insane? The buzz going around in Blacksburg. James Franklin, by the way, has been pinpointed to Virginia Tech for a while. Andy Bitter from Tech Sideline came out and said there's been talks between the two. And so yesterday I reached out to a man well-respected in the community. Happy to have him on the show today. And I feel bad because I didn't know he was doing stuff with Tech Sideline. So a lot of this he's probably going to be repeating. So sorry in advance, Mr. David Teel of the Virginian Pilot. But David, the buzz in Blacksburg right now, what started this buzz and pinpointing James Franklin as recently as yesterday?
Well, what started the buzz was Penn State firing James Franklin.
Well, yeah.
and him being available, and then going on College Game Day and making quite clear that he wants to coach again. And Virginia Tech is among the Power 4 jobs that are vacant right now. Mm-hmm. And James Franklin has clear DMV ties. He has recruited this region quite effectively, especially when he was at Penn State. He was perhaps an interception away from reaching the college football playoff championship game last year at Penn State, and heck, was leading Oregon in overtime this season in Happy Valley before it all went south. So he's a natural candidate in terms of speculation. Do I think, as the rumors would have you believe, that Virginia Tech and James Franklin are close to a deal? As a wise athletic director once told me, every rumor and leak has a motive, an agenda behind it. So I would suggest tapping the brakes.
Absolutely.
Could it happen? Sure. But it strikes me that something imminent may be a little optimistic.
David, do you think that, I know VT has been preaching we need a general manager first before we get a head coach, but do you think maybe they'll find the head coach first and then the general manager, and maybe we just don't know? What are your thoughts?
Well, let's go back to shortly after Virginia Tech fired Brent Pry. Bruce Arians, the former Hokies quarterback and Super Bowl winning head coach, goes on Pat McAfee's show and says that Virginia Tech is going to hire a general manager before it hires a head coach. Mr. Arians got a little out over his skis because then with Babcock, the athletic director, had to walk that back, in large part because his phone started ringing from agents saying, "What in the heck are you doing? If you hire a GM first, that is going to limit your pool of coaching candidates," most of whom would want to say as to who the general manager is going to be. So Witt then walked it back and said, no, Virginia Tech will be hiring a football coach before it hires a general manager. So that's where we stand with that.
David Teel, usually when we bring you on these shows, we ask, hey, I've got this guy in mind. Can you tell me if I'm stupid or not for recommending it? But, I was just thinking as I brought you onto the show, I wonder who David Teel would recommend And who would you honestly recommend if you were in that boardroom right now as the next Virginia Tech head coach?
I wouldn't recommend anyone until I sat down across the table with multiple candidates who had been vetted and who then were willing to answer questions, were willing to present a Virginia Tech specific plan as to how they would run the program,
yes, sir,
what their staff would look like. I mean, we can all evaluate resumes and win-loss records and where have you done it and for how long have you done it. Would James Franklin be in that stack of resumes that I would move into the we need to talk to them pile? Absolutely. But there are others as well, and there are many others. James Madison's Bob Chesney among them, former Northwestern coach Pat Fitzgerald. There are a plethora. Chris Kleiman at Kansas State. Many possibilities out there, TJ. And my old school way of thinking, it would all hinge on the interview.
David Teel, Virginia pilot, ACC award-winning writer, joining us here on the show. David, when you look at Blacksburg and the buzz going around it now, and then you look at the job openings recently, LSU a couple days ago, 6 days before that, it was Florida. Where would you rank the Virginia Tech job with all the other job openings, including Penn State, James Franklin's former destination?
Well, it all hinges again to what does a coach want? Where do you want to live? Do you want to be in the most resourced conferences, Big Ten, SEC, where the path to the playoff is you're looking at leagues that are going to get 3, 4, maybe even 5 bids in a league, or a conference like the ACC where you're looking at 2 or 3 at best, but the competition isn't as deep as it is in the SEC and the Big Ten. If you're talking about the proven ability to win at the highest levels of the sport, including national championships, then I think you would rank them LSU. Penn State and Florida is kind of a toss-up because only the greatest of the greats have won natties at Florida. And that's Steve Spurrier and Urban Meyer. Nobody's done it at Penn State since Joe Pa in '86, but Franklin came awfully close last season. I'd probably go LSU, Florida, Penn State. And then among the remaining Power 4 jobs, you've got UCLA, Oklahoma State, Virginia Tech. I'm missing a couple.
What about Stanford? Yeah, I was just about to ask. What about Stanford? We know Frank Reich is temporary. How appetizing is that job?
And Andrew Luck is running the show out there as the general manager, and they just had a $50 million gift to football. But I think and Arkansas is the other job. I think I would cluster Virginia Tech in with Arkansas and Oklahoma State, but I think Virginia Tech is a better job than the other two. So among the 8 current P4 openings, TJ, I would rank the Hokies 4th, basically right in the middle.
That makes sense. I honestly think that's a great ranking. I definitely would put it over Arkansas like you have, but you're right. When it compares to LSU, Florida, and Penn State, I think VT's the 4th best job opening in the world currently. Is there any worry, David, that VT could get this wrong? And what percentage do you feel like is the outcome of that.
You can always get coaching searches wrong. There are no sure things. If Virginia Tech gets James Franklin, it's not a sure thing.
Right.
It's just the way the world works in sports. Let's remember that Justin Fuente was highly sought after when he was at Memphis. And Virginia Tech outmaneuvered others and landed him. And he started like a house of fire, won 19 games in his first 2 seasons, including a Coastal Division title, and had the eventual national champion Clemson Tigers in a 1-score game in the ACC title contest down in Orlando. Didn't pull it out, but darn near did. That was a really good football team. But long term, it didn't work. Frank Beamer, he was complete. That's a risk. What did he do? He'd done it at Murray State. Different era, obviously, but he turned out to be a Hall of Famer. Mike London seemed like he was the natural choice for UVA back after Al Groh was dismissed. He had won a national championship in his first season as a head coach at Richmond. He had followed that up with another playoff season. He had coached at UVA before. He had coached at Boston College. And it just didn't work for many reasons. And, once momentum starts to trend south for a program and a coach, it's hard work to reverse it. And sometimes it's irreversible. So there are no sure things. But Virginia Tech, my gosh, desperately wants and needs to get this right, because it's about to invest more than $200 million in additional funding to athletics, largely for football. And the ACC is basing more and more of its media revenue distribution based on your success on the football field and the number of eyeballs you bring to the television screen. And that ratchets up the pressure on coaches even more.
David Teel joining us here on the program. Mr. Teel, one more question for you before we let you go, as our program has gone a little over. David, the frenzy that could happen with coaching wise, maybe when at the end of the year, Wisconsin fires Luke Fickell, crazy thing to think about, but it could happen. Mike Norvell could be released from Florida State. There's just so many other coaching jobs that could be open. How much of a frenzy are you expecting over the offseason and when it's time for coaching hires? Or do you feel like maybe some of these schools are going to go ahead and grab their man while they can?
I think we're already in a frenzy. We only had 5 Power 4 openings the entirety of all last season. And now you and I are talking before Halloween, and we're at 8. And depending on how the dominoes fall, we could have 10, 14, 16, 20. You just never know, because there's going to be some, is Lane Kiffin going to go from Ole Miss to LSU or Florida? He might. Then that opens up Ole Miss. Now, Nebraska locked up Matt Rule today, so that probably rules out Matt at his alma mater.
No pun intended.
Penn State. So that's one that's probably not going to fall, because Penn State now turned to Matt Campbell at Iowa State. That would open up, obviously, that shot. So you just trying to predict it all, but we are already in a frenzy, and it's only going to pick up steam.
David Teel joined us here today on the show. David, thank you for taking time. I hope we didn't repeat too much on what you did with Tech's sideline and made it at least just as enjoyable, I should say.
All good, TJ. Enjoyed talking to you, man. Have a great weekend.
You too, man. Thank you, David, for joining us here. That's all for us here on WVGM Timberlake. VTRN's 93.3 FM, 1320 AM, Southside Gretna as well on the AM station. Thank you for joining us here on the Fast Lane for talking about all the buzz. Tomorrow we'll have Juice Network's Royal Howell on the show because basketball season's coming and football's getting down to the wire. Look at those ACC standings, man. We were talking about the American, but you look at the ACC race. Woo, Nelly. Oh, my word. UVA, Georgia Tech controlling their own destination. We'll get into that with Royal Howell and basketball seasons here. The third, I'll be at UVA and Ritter. And Royal will be at Duke in Texas down in Charlotte. So we're happy to have him on. We're also going to talk Corey Spector about Conference USA women's soccer that's happening at Osborne Stadium at Liberty. All this and more. Don't miss out tomorrow. Now, back to our regular scheduled programming as we are over. Thank you for tuning in and good night.
Like with him being a part of a new regime here. So, I mean, just since I got here, man, we've been, the standard has been set as far as the work that we put in week and week out, and his expectations for us as a whole team, you know, hasn't wavered. I think it's just really